Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel, and today I've got something pretty awesome to show you guys. It's a car that is pretty old but at the same time pretty much brand new, because of course it's the newly released MiniGT McLaren F1 GTR in the number 59 Ueno Clinic livery. However, this one is the post-race weathered look and it's number model 870. So let's crack it open and see what it's all about. And here we have it, the brand new MiniGT McLaren F1 GTR. This one is number 870 and it's number 59, 1995 Le Mans 24-hour winner. And of course, MiniGT has released this car before with number 534, so some 230 cars ago, quite a long time ago, and that was the really beautiful variant of this car before the race actually starts. However, as you can see, this one is not a nice showroom condition one. It looks like it's been through the race. So let's dive in and see what it's all about. I'm really excited. And of course, McLaren and Le Mans official product. Fully sealed. Let's check it out. And now I've just opened this section over here as I usually do, so let's check it out. I'm super excited. Let's see. Ooh, yeah, that is sick. Wow, that is really epic. Man, look at that. Whew. That is seriously cool. Wow, I'm really loving the look of this car. It looks so sinister in this washed out style. Man, it looks really dirty. You can see it's got this sort of satin finish, and straight away we've got the colors seriously washed out on the writing. You can barely even see that it says Ueno Clinic over there, and even the little logos on the bottom and the Union Jack. This is seriously cool. Man, that is really epic. I love the look of this thing. Wow, what a cool surprise. This thing looks seriously sinister. I love that. That is very cool. And straight away out the box, you can see how well proportioned this car is and how nicely MiniGT's made the molding on this car. I think they've got a lot of great detail. Of course, this car has gone through a few other colors as well. We've had a really nice red one as well as a Gulf livery variant, but this Ueno Clinic just takes the cake, especially in this worn effect. Of course, this was the Underdog that beat all the big prototypes at Le Mans, and it crossed the finish line, taped up, dirty and victorious, already signaling that this car is something extremely special. Of course, the history is really interesting. In 1995, the McLaren F1 GTR entered Le Mans just as a simple GT car, basically a road car with some racing tweaks, up against the all-purpose built prototypes, and against all odds it ended up winning the race, driven by Yannick Dalmas, Masanori Sakia and JJ Leto. And Leto was so quick that at one point the team actually radioed him to slow down, and he just famously replied, "Don't worry," and kept pushing. So that mix of reliability, speed and serious calm under pressure is why this number 59 is such an awesome icon. And so let's give it its due and check it out in all its glory and under close inspection. And now we can get up close and personal with the car. So straight away, the paint quality is really awesome. As you can see, we've got this sort of satin finish on the car, and we do have a little bit of metallic flake in it in some places. Of course, as we go up onto the roof of the car, you can actually see that we have a lot of metallic flake in the paint here, and of course it washes out as we get down. And I really like the effect of that, because it really gives that feeling of this dirty sort of look where the roof would be quite a lot cleaner. And that's a really nice finish, and you can see it goes from this gloss into this satin finish, and that's kind of interesting how they've done that. It's really unique look, and I'm a huge fan. I think MiniGT pulled off the paint on this car extremely nicely. So starting off with a roof, as always, we've got a really cool roof scoop in there, which channels air to this massive V12 in the car. And as you can see, we've got the 24 Hour of Le Mans logo just in French up there. And we've got really nice shut lines here as well. However, there's not really much of a dirty buildup in this top roof scoop, although I think it should be a little bit dirtier, although it was raining quite heavily, so that would have been washed off there. And of course, now we get to this really awesome looking and torn up window banner, and MiniGT even managed to capture that because of course there was constant heavy rain during the race, and of course lots of pit stops and windshield cleanings, and this banner ended up getting shredded and all ragged up by the time the car finished the race. It's just a tiny detail, but it really helps to tell the story of what a car goes through under 24 hours of endurance racing. And it's an awesome little detail they've put in. Of course, really nice windshield, and we even have the little windscreen wiper molded into the windshield over here. It's not finished off in black or anything, but it is still there. And of course we can see the centrally mounted seating position, which is a huge iconic piece of the McLaren F1. Great detailing. And now we get to this frontal area, and straight away above the wheels we've got these little air channel outlets, and even the E for the electrical cutoff switch, and the number 59, and you can see how worn and torn the number is. It's got this almost stuccoed effect over there. And we've got a similar effect on the Union Jack on the opposite side here. And we've got really nice three-dimensional lights as well, with this little acrylic cover over it. Really great details of shut lines as well. And of course this car's got these two really interesting looking lights in the front as well, and those were used as extra lighting just to illuminate the darkness of Le Mans during the night section of the race. And we've got a little air intake there as well, quite a lot of three-dimensionality. Tokyo, Ueno Clinic, McLaren, and we've even got the little indicators there as well, just finished off in orange, and even that has quite a lot of dirty looking details on that. And now we get into the front bumper area, and you can see it actually shows off some gaffer tape in these areas, just like the real car had after some minor damage and stone strikes. So midway through the race, the mechanics ended up actually patching up this lower section of the car just to keep it intact rather than changing this whole assembly. So this really makes this model feel alive and a car that really fought to win the race. It's such an awesome little detail they've added, and I'm so happy they've done it. And of course, nice detailing and three-dimensionality in the grills there as well. And we've got this really cool soft shape of the McLaren F1. It feels really smooth and really aerodynamic as well. Of course, the little Michelin Man logo there, just barely visible. Really nice split lines in this area as well. And now we come to these iconic 5-spoke OZ or OZ rims. Of course, you can see we've got these really nice little center hub there as well, and we've even got this really awesome dusty kind of look to them. This mirrors the Michelin tires that endured stint after stint in the real race. Of course, on the tires it's written Michelin as well, and a really nice worn effect. No calipers or brakes to be seen, however, because it's a Mini GT. So, carrying on to the rest of the car, you're really reminded of how close this car was to the original road-going McLaren F1, because it still carries the same carbon monocoque and iconic dihedral doors that are over there, and yet it beat cars built specifically for Le Mans. And this weathered look looks seriously awesome as well. So straight away, we've got this McLaren logo, the number 59, Ueno Clinic, Kenwood, Essex, something else, degree 7, Michelin, but all of them look super worn. Even a nice little three-dimensional NACA duct on the side, and really nice modeling on the side there as well. Of course, there we would have some air outlets. There is quite a lot of three-dimensionality, but it's not cut through or anything like that, which is a bit of a shame. And then here we've got the rear view mirror. There's no reflection or anything like that. I'm not sure how much reflection you would still have post-race, but with the wind and things going this way, I think it should still be kind of reflective, although in this case it is not. And here we've got the name of the drivers, JJ Leto, Y Delmas, and M Sekia. And of course the Union Jack Beautiful McLaren DLO, great visibility into the car, just finished off in black on the surrounds as well, and we've even got a little fuel filler cap on the end, this C pillar as well. And now we get to this rear area here, and you can see how nice and soft the surfacing is on this car. Although it's a weathered race car, you can still see that we've got really great and beautiful supercar lines on this car. Of course, the McLaren F1 is a seriously iconic piece of machinery, and you can really see how beautiful the surfacing is on this car. It's super nice. And now we come to the rear wheels. Once again, they spin really nicely, and design-wise, they are pretty much the same as the front. However, you can see they have quite a lot of extra width compared to the front, and we got full-on racing slicks on this car as well. And in 1995, the tire strategy was really crucial. The McLaren could run longer on a set compared to the prototypes, gaining time in the pits, and that kind of quiet advantage plus the reliability really gave the Underdog its edge. And now on the bottom, 1995 McLaren F1 GTR. And of course, even this section looks kind of weathered, to be honest. And now we come to the rear mask of the car, and you can see how much detail we've got once again in this area. We've got these little BMW V12 power logos worn off, of course, and a lot of three-dimensionality and depth in these air outlets. Very typical 90s supercar style, even in this top mask area here as well. And we've got a little GTR logo, the McLaren F1 logo as well, and we've even got the rear tail lights looking pretty dirty. You can see there is some light shining through it, but this front section of it has been kind of sprayed over. And now we get to this really awesome looking quad exhaust, and it has a lot of depth of detail and it looks pretty awesome. However, I was expecting a little bit more detail around this area, especially I really wanted to see the streaks and the kind of heat staining that would occur after such a big race, because this exhaust would run brutally hot on the real car with this BMW V12. So that would have been a really nice extra little addition, but still really awesome modeling. And now we get to this really cool looking GT wing on the back of this McLaren. By modern standards, this aero is pretty simplistic, but in 95, this setup was actually pretty cutting edge, especially for a GT car. And this model shows a relatively modest rear wing compared to the later versions, really emphasizing how this first year F1 GTR was still more Grand Tourer rather than a prototype. And you can see it's also finished off in this really beautiful carbon fiber effect, and this part's actually kind of clean looking. And interestingly enough, this is like almost dead straight, and that's a really interesting thing because modern cars tend to have a bit of a curved wing. And now we come to the rear deck of the car, and it's pretty nicely detailed, a lot of three-dimensionality, and we even have these cutouts just for the air outlets. However, it would have been nice to see them finished off in black just to give it a bit more character and a bit more depth in the design. And of course, here we start to get this buildup of dirt coming up onto this rear engine cover area. And we've got these really nice three-dimensional air outlets. Once again, they're not finished off in black or anything, but they are there and pretty well detailed. And of course, we would have had the air running down the centerpiece over here. And just next to that, we've got these two glass sections over here. And underneath it all sat a BMW built S70-2 V12. It was a 6.1 liter naturally aspirated masterpiece. Essentially, it was pretty much the same engine as the road car used, and in fact, the McLaren F1's road engine was so overbuilt that they ended up having to detune it for these endurance races, restricting it from about 627 horsepower down to about 600 just for the reliability and also to meet the FIA rules. And this meant that the car could run longer stints without any drama. It was a really strong key factor in outlasting the prototypes at Le Mans. And it just goes to show how insane this base McLaren F1 was. And of course the engine details are there as well, although it's pretty much impossible to see them under this lighting. But we've got the head over there, and it looks like we've got some exhaust in the rear as well. And we do have a bit of detail underneath at the bottom there, but it is pretty dark to actually look in there. But the engine is there, so that's really great little details. And we've even got the little heat shields and air channels in the rear over there. And now we get into the interior of this McLaren F1, typical seating position. And inside this cockpit, you can see MiniGT really recreated the Spartan style setup where the drivers had to endure for 24 hours. So just imagine 3 guys sitting in here, sharing stints, fighting fatigue, and driving a car that was really never meant to be a full-time race car. That human effort combined with McLaren's engineering is really part of what you're holding here in miniature. And you can see we've got this fully stripped out interior, we've got the racing bucket seats, and even this sort of mesh where the pedals are, of course, and you can see how stripped out all of it is. It looks really awesome. Turning back to this side of the car, it looks pretty much identical to the other side. However, there is a little bit of a minor difference, because if you look at these center wheel hubs, you can actually see that this side is blue and this side is finished off in red, and that's just the same as it is on the real life Le Mans car, because this color coding just helps pit crews instantly identify which way the nuts thread off, because of course the wheel rotation goes one direction. You have to use an opposite style lock on the center lock wheel nuts, and knowing which side you have in your hands, it really helps save precious seconds during the tire changes. And here we have the car on the turntable spinning around in all its glory, and it just really letting us appreciate the shapes and the design of the McLaren F1 GTR itself. And you can see how beautiful the lines are and how flowing the design is. And it's got this typical 90s supercar architecture, and I really love the stance of this car and how menacing and mean it looks, and especially in this post-race color, it's just absolutely mesmerizing, and it's really fitting for this car. Of course, MiniGT didn't just replicate this McLaren, they ended up bottling up a story of an underdog road car that ended up conquering Le Mans. I really love the details that they've managed to put in there. The gaffer tape on the front, the torn banner on the top, all the grime and kind of worn lettering on the wheels as well. It's really all there in this really little 1/64 time capsule. What an amazing story. And MiniGT has been just as successful replicating this car as the car was in winning the race. And I think what an absolute little legend and an incredible model. And of course, the prices of these are sitting at around about 15 to 20-ish pounds, typical MiniGT prices. So if you're into these kind of race cars, I would suggest that you get one of these because it is really awesome. And unfortunately, I didn't have the original variant to compare with it. It would have been nice, but if I get my hands on one, then I'll definitely do a follow-up to this as well. And so that wraps up my review of the MiniGT McLaren F1 GTR number 59, the road car turned Le Mans legend. If you enjoyed this deep dive, hit like and subscribe so you don't miss any future videos. And of course, if you're into iconic race cars, check out my previous review of the epic Mercedes CLK GTR from the FIA GT series, another 90s endurance monster that you really don't want to miss. And of course, as always, I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. Do you prefer this post-race battle-scarred McLaren, or would you like the clean showroom variant instead? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take it easy. Ciao.